Being First Lady of the United States is not a formal job, nor is it even mentioned in the Constitution. And it's a role that has changed substantially over the years, from that of primarily a hostess to one of significant political clout. Here to tell us more is Lauren A. Wright, author of On Behalf of the President, Presidential Spouses and White House Communications Strategy Today. Welcome, Lauren.
Thank you.
Nice to have you here.
Thanks.
So what made you decide to write a book about First Ladies?
I was in the middle of my PhD studies at Georgetown, and it was so clear that in the presidency research, there's almost nothing about first ladies and vice presidents. And in fact, from an informal power standpoint, they're comparable. And I found first ladies are sometimes more active than vice presidents. So that really launched the book for me.
So interesting. And you call them, right, the messenger in chief in
Yes.
some ways. Why are they so crucial to communicating things for the president?
There's a few reasons. One is consistently higher approval and favorability ratings, and significantly so, we can show. They're seen as political outsiders, even though they couldn't be more inside. If you think about it, they can transcend partisanship. So whether you're a Republican or a Democrat is not often a statistically powerful predictor of how you feel about the First Lady, but it is for other politicians.
And your book challenges some of the sort of common classifications for first ladies. Is that right?
That's exactly right. You've probably heard so many of these modern and traditional spouses, public and private spouses. And so, for example, Laura Bush, often cited as a traditional spouse. But if you look at how often first ladies are appearing in public and what they're talking about, those titles really aren't based in empirical evidence, so it's important to question them.
So they all pretty much, this is a full-time job for
Yes,
all of them.
absolutely.
How much thought and time and effort does the administration put into choosing a First Lady's pet project?
A lot, and actually, if you look at what spouses are interested in the campaign trail, that can sometimes be a predictor of what's to come in the presidential administration, what legislation the president might be interested on, because one of the requirements for those pet projects is that they're linked to presidential policy items, and they fit together very, very closely. So when you see, for example, Bill Clinton saying he's interested in the economy, we can perhaps see a possible Clinton administration putting out some kind of economic legislation.
Now you bring up a good point, because
Yes.
you know, we will have a new president tomorrow and then a new presidential spouse. So if Hillary Clinton does win and Bill Clinton becomes the first husband, what would his official title be?
Well, since he's a former president, I think they don't have to fully deal with this yet. He will always be referred to as Mr. President, Mr. Former President. He could even call his office the office of former President Bill Clinton if he wanted. But he's been referring to himself as the presidential spouse, or that's how we've been talking about it.
He seems ready to dive right into that new role, whatever it may be. What do you think about Melania Trump?
Well, I think she has been starting to communicate some of her interests lately. It seems very late to me. I think that Melania Trump has been severely underutilized in this campaign. My research shows she can move opinion on Donald Trump, especially among independents. And so that speech that she gave the other day, I wish that would have happened a little bit earlier in the campaign season. I'm surprised it didn't. But the lack of involvement of a spouse in a campaign can actually tell you a lot about how well the campaign's organized, how substantially they're staffing, their best surrogates. And so I think both Melania Trump and Bill Clinton have been able to add quite a bit to
Very
each of
interesting. Now, just looking at the power of first ladies or political spouses in general, it seems to have grown quite a bit in modern times. Now we have a former first lady actually running for president, and many people have called on Michelle Obama to run for office. Does it seem now that this is a stepping stone to political office?
It can be, because we often see that so many first ladies have political talents.
Yeah.
Michelle Obama is an exceptionally talented messenger, orator. She's good at communicating emotion, and President Obama is sometimes deemed to be a little bit stoic.
Right.
So we often find out about political talents through the job, so perhaps a stepping stone, but now we can measure the influence, and so I think that's the real difference.
One last quick question.
Sure.
Did our sort of celebrity obsession with first ladies begin with Jackie Kennedy?
Sure, that's a great starting point. Jackie Kennedy was the first lady to have a press secretary, so that might tell you that the office had to become more professional in that respect. But there's always been so much interest in spouses, even in the front porch campaigns of the late 19th century. Spouses were hounded by the media.
No doubt, Americans are fascinated by
Yes.
presidential spouses. So great topic for a book.
Thank you.
Lauren, thank you so much for joining us.